So it's interesting. You brought up King of the Ring. What is your kind of historical take on King of the Ring?
So the first King of the Ring was won by Harley Race, and in the industry, Harley is legendary. Like he's just a legendary performer and one of the true tough guys. Like that people were afraid. They were afraid of Harley, right? But Vince didn't want to put the main belt on him because he didn't think Harley was marketable in that new age, and he
Who
was right. That was a good choice. But this gave
are,
Harley.
are you talking
Go
about
ahead.
Vince Senior? I didn't mean to
No,
cut
no,
you
no,
off.
no.
You
I'm
talking about
talking
Vince
about
Senior?
Vince Jr.
Junior?
Yeah.
Vince Jr. worked with Harley
Yes,
Race?
absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
That's why I
And
was confused. I'm like, wait, what?
yeah, yeah. Harley was in there when Vince had it. And because it was Vince that started the King of the Ring thing. That was his I don't know if he came up with the concept, but he was running and owning WWE at the time, right? But he still was at a point where everybody thought he was just a commentator, right? It was during
Right.
that era, right? But I thought it was a perfect thing to do for Harley looking back on it because um you gave him an unofficial title by calling him the King of the Ring, and it respected who he had been to the industry
Mm,
and the respect that the people in the locker room had for him. And it also gave him a program to work with, right? So I, for a while after that, um, the King of the Ring was kind of just that. They used it for those people they needed to give a push, an extra push to get over a little bit, to give them an accomplishment without giving them a title, right?
right.
Um, and then it started to be used as a kickoff point for a world championship run,
Right.
right?
Right.
So um Gunther going into the King of the Ring. Now we haven't seen the King of the Ring use that for a while because they certainly didn't use that with Xavier Woods, right? They didn't use that for him to become the world champ. But Gunther, the caliber of athlete he is, what he just accomplished with the longest intercontinental run in the history of the company, that smacks to me of nope, this is the vehicle right here.
Right.
He's gonna go in there, he's gonna get this because how do you have a guy who had the belt for so long, um, that is still very young in his career in the WWE, circulate amongst the roster without having something for an accolade now that he doesn't have the belt? Because you run the risk of burying him if you don't. You got to give him something. And I think
Yeah.
this is his way. He's gonna get this accolade real quick. He's gonna fuck motherfuckers up, right? And then he's gonna be on his king shit, right?
Well,
And he's gonna make his way up to the title fights, man. I'm telling you.
there are a very few monsters in the WWE right now. There's a lot of meat, no Diddy, but like there's not like the monsters of let's say Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar and even
Kane. Even
Kane,
Omos,
right?
yeah.
They don't really they're not really in the main shuffle of the title hunt and the program
They
and stuff.
don't dominate because the man who loved big men is no longer in
It's no
charge.
longer there. Yeah.
So they don't dominate the scene like that.
That's crazy. What is your thoughts on just post WrestleMania feel of the
Mm.
program? Because like right now, I'll be honest with you, it feels like we watched the end of a phase in Marvel,
Yeah.
and these episodes of Raw and SmackDown are like these in between movies to set up the next phase.
Yeah, that you nailed it. You nailed it. This is the transitional period. It's also Act One. Remember, they're starting a whole new story now. So this
Yeah,
is Act One, and in Act One, in most movies, and I even use it when I write stories. In Act One, this is the establishing act. This is where you establish if it's a new character, you establish the new character, you establish the world, the setting, and then you
right.
establish the motivations and the rules, right? So this is a period I feel like in WWE where this is Act One, and that's why it's going to be. I ain't gonna say dry. It's going to have some good moments in there, but it's not going to have the life shattering moments that we just saw because we just got out of a third act, right? We
Right.
just got a third act, and that's
And what a
crazy.
third act that
What a
was.
third act that was. It was probably the best third act in wrestling storyline history,
History.
right?
I agree.
You
I mean,
know,
here's the thing. Kane and Undertaker is always like right there with the great storyline
yeah,
of
it's a
all
great
time.
storyline.
But that conclusionary third
Mm-mm,
act that you're
mm-mm,
talking about,
mm-mm.
Cody, Roman, the Bloodline,
Yeah,
Rock,
yeah,
just, everything that happened. I think Cena's a part of that as like the
yeah,
sort of side story,
yeah.
B
He's a
plot,
sub
C
thread.
plot.
He's a
Yeah, he's a
sub
sub
thread.
thread.
Hmm.
But it's like, damn, man, what storytelling? I mean, the reason why we talk about wrestling, pro wrestling, I'm glad we can call it pro wrestling again.
Yeah.
Um, the reason why we talk about pro wrestling on this show and people, know that we are huge pro wrestling fans is because the storytelling element of pro wrestling, in my opinion,
Hmm.
is better than any TV show, like regular fictional TV show.
Hmm.
It's better than most movies. It's
Hmm.
better than most books. It's better than most comic books.
In my opinion, I disagree. I think it's better than most television shows for sure. I think it's better than a lot of, especially, movies. The whole extended storyline in movies doesn't happen all that often in
Right.
comparison to just standalone movies, right? It doesn't. So it's definitely better than that. I don't believe it's better than in comic books. I know too many classic comic book storylines to co-sign that. But I
Okay.
will say, um, a lot of the way I introduce characters, settings, situations, but particularly character-driven stuff, because that's what the wrestling storyline shit is. It's character-driven, right? So a lot of I do what I do with the comic book, I do with that. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
use the WWE wrestling in
Model.
general format.
Yeah.
And to be clear, to completely put over the bloodline thing, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I've been watching wrestling for years, bro. For years. I have never seen such a definitive third act. And I don't care how good the storyline may have been.
So then my question to you is, which stories would you say in comics are better than okay, which regular storytelling element of comics is better than pro wrestling? Because I am not a by nature sort of innate comic book reader. I come from Star Trek. Most people know
Right,
that.
right.
But like I would argue that there are times that pro wrestling is more entertaining and have better storytelling than even Star Trek. Yep.
Wow, that
Yep.
bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bro.
Damn,
Like, let me tell you
damn.
something. What we just saw from the
Mhm,
final boss, and I don't care if Samoa Joe's been using that name. Like,
mhm.
if somebody who is a greater sort of if they're a Mount Rushmore guy and they want to use your sort of nickname, side character, because all wrestlers have these other names,
They
right?
do, they do.
The beast incarnate, right?
Right,
The wise man, the people's
right.
champion.
The dead
So
man.
yeah, the dead man. To me, it's like you're looking at, I guess, the question of if there are consistent comic books that are better storytelling element that have
Mhm,
better storytelling elements than pro wrestling.
mhm.
I could make a case for things like the Borg storyline,
Oh, bro,
Data
amazing,
storyline, right?
amazing.
Um, you could argue the
Deep
Picard
Space
thread.
Nine.
You could argue the D Space Nine knock thread. Those are great storylines.
Mhm.
But once you get past that, Trek is usually very singular,
Yeah.
very, very episodic. It's
Monster
a
of the
one-off
day.
thing.
Monster
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the day.
monster of the day, sort of planet of the day sort of
Right,
situation,
right,
which is
right,
okay if you want to tell stories that way.
right.
In my opinion, pro wrestling, it can draw out storylines from 20 years ago.
Yep.
And maybe you can blame the writers of Star Trek.
Mhm.
You can say, well, if they had better writers, they could easily take things from TOS and thread it into, and you see Discovery doing that
They
now,
yell,
right?
hell yeah.
So people hate Discovery, but it loves these like
Whatever.
old TOS and TNG threads, right?
Mhm.
Deep Space Nine threads. It's always talking about the history
Right.
of Star Trek. So I guess my question to you is, which comic books do you feel like is just superior to pro wrestling?
To me, first of all, let's put some context on it. Pro wrestling hasn't always been able to do this. That's why that's what I meant when I said this is the most definitive structure. Like they would have these stories short and run a program. The endings wouldn't be all that satisfying, bro. I'm keeping it real. I've been watching it for a long time. Like they would have great spots, sometimes long spots, but then when you get to the end, it's like, I haven't seen anything as structured as this. As the bloodline thing. The bloodline thing eclipses. I'm trying to seriously sit there and think, was it Ronnie Garvin versus Ric Flair? No. Was it Dusty's a battle to get the belt from the front? No. Was it when Magnum TA got into the accident and Nikita Koloff turned face? And no, like none of that stuff in my mind is better than what they just did with the bloodline stuff. Now, as far as comic books, Days of Future Past, great story. And this is the other thing. Remember when you said they pull stuff from 20 years ago? Comics has been doing that for years. They'll pull a character from way back in the day, and you ain't hear nothing else from him until whatever that last story he was in was. And all of a sudden, they've reworked him into a story, and now he's relevant, and people are checking for him, and all that other stuff. And I'll give you another story that I think is Wolverine's first 4-book run with Shin against Shinnigan. Incredible story writing. Everything from the fall of a man who was at the peak of his power or whatever, and then love took him down, basically. It made him feel less than what he was, and then he winds up coming back, having to murder the love of his life's father, right? Like it's a crazy story. There are also certain Avengers storylines. The one that Jonathan Hickman did, Infinity, incredible story.
Well, Civil War itself.
Civil War is incredible. Now, Civil War, I will tell people this: the mainline story in Civil War is incredible. Marvel did that bullshit that it does, where it tries to sell you a billion books that don't really have anything to do with the main story. It's just ancillary shit that's on the side. I'm not talking about them. Age of Apocalypse, an amazing story. If you stick with the main line, the other little books, don't fuck with those. Don't fuck with those. And it's a bunch of them, bro. It's brand new day, Spider-Man. Even though they didn't stick the landing the way I wanted them to. I'll be honest with you, they didn't. Gods on Earth, Thor, Gods on Earth, an amazing, long-scaled story that ended dope. Like Spawn, the Armageddon run, amazing, like amazing stuff. But that doesn't mean that wrestling isn't up there in the conversation. Especially, I feel like it went a few notches above with the bloodline stuff, because this, first of all, can we just give a shout out to Triple H real quick?
Oh, dude.
Because for a man, he's been through at least 4 different eras in wrestling as a performer, right? And the fact that he's still coming up with fresh ideas, fresh ways to introduce characters, fresh ways to present storylines in the modern era. And because of him, delivered to me it's the greatest storyline in wrestling. I challenge anybody to pick anything from the fucking 70s. No, first of all, you can't even tell me nothing from the 70s, because those storylines there were fragmented. It'd be a program of a few matches and then whatever. 80s. I defy anybody to show me that in the 80s. Bro, the fact of the matter is, if you go back to old rock and wrestling era, you can pull out these moments, but none of them lasted, 4 years? A 4-year program? Nah, bro. Triple H, yo, he's Mount Rushmore now. He's in the conversation, yo. He's in the conversation. Well,
it's interesting because, like, obviously, I think Triple H is a wrestling prodigy.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna have like a revisionist history and say that I always thought that.
I didn't either.
You know, I remember when he started calling himself the game, and I
Right.
was just like, the what? I don't get it. Like what? I don't get it. You know, I
Why
didn't
are
get
you the
it.
game?
But
You the game.
now when you kind of look at him and what he's become and you know, the Will Ospreay thing that he said about the, you know, in his promo about the grind and all that type of stuff, like
Mhm.
I think everyone's played this Stephanie McMahon Triple H relationship way too much to try to undermine his
I think it's too late for
basketball,
that, though.
his pro wrestling prowess.
Yeah, it's too late for that.
I
That's
think
that's
he is
old shit.
yeah, I think he is a legitimate pro wrestling thinker.
Yep.
Like the way he understands the business and the
Mhm.
industry and the psychology at a fundamental level.
And he
He
understands the
really
audience.
is the game.
He's the game. Bro, when Osprey said that
He
shit, yo,
really
I laughed,
is.
yo. I laughed. I said, so this man is just coming off of one of the no, I'll argue the most successful runs as far as controlling a program, coming out with good product, ending on a high note that had everybody feeling good, right? He just came off that. And you get on there on your little rinky dink program with a mic and you say, you want to talk about his wife. I ask of you, if this was all Stephanie, we wouldn't have heard that by now.
Yeah.
Who
Well,
listen to what the performers are saying.
well, and then also, this is the part where and a lot of AEW fans are going to get mad at me for saying this, but I'm just going to say it. That's what makes their product corny.
Agreed.
That's what makes their product like not interesting and not watchable. And I don't care about the flippy no sell nonsense. I would be willing to tolerate it if they were a more likable company.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the people who run that
Yo,
company or were in that company
agreed.
for. It's like everybody in that company from the outside, from a fan, from a mark. I'm not a smart mark. I'm a dumb mark. But for the smart marks out there, you can't tell me those personalities of the people for the dumb marks like me aren't just off-putting and abrasive and
They
not
are.
likable.
They're not. They're not
They're just
marketable either.
not. And
Also,
so maybe this guy is a decent enough in-ring performer where you try to sell him as the best ever. I'm not seeing it. I'm not
bro,
seeing it.
please listen. I know best ever. You know another name for AEW fans? Well, not fans, but the product.
Yeah.
Glass ceiling. This is why Jade left.
Yeah.
It's only so much AEW is going to be able to do for somebody that has an outsized talent, image, branding, marketing. It's only so much that they're going to be able to do for that person. And one things I'll give AEW credit for, because there always needs to be a landing pad for those who ran their run in the WWE. They're no longer either physically incapable of doing certain things anymore, so they need a slower paced product. So they go to a place like AEW. I'm glad y'all there for that. But as far as them breaking new talent and then bringing them up to a point where they are significant to pop culture, I don't know that they have it in them. And it's because of petty shit like that. It's because of showing videos of some guys you're trying to put over as tough guy getting choked the fuck out in a real fight. Like that's it's called. Oh, by the way, all to try to discredit somebody who already did it on a big stage.
Right.
Somebody who you brought in there to elevate everybody in there, including the company itself. You brought CM Punk there for a reason. Are we going to now act as though you didn't bring CM Punk there because you needed him?
Okay, so that's the thing. This is why I feel like a lot of the people in AEW are just so full of or blind with their own sort of projection and ego that they could not see what they had in CM Punk. I don't think they did. I think they all thought that they were the same. Oh, I'm just like CM Punk.
Oh, I'm fairly certain
I'm just like CM Punk. We're all just like CM Punk.
Man, Tony Khan knew better.
No, I don't think that was the case at all. And they found out real quick. They're finding out real quick that with him gone,
There's
he
nothing
absolutely shifts the attention balance
to.
to WWE beyond a breaking point where it's you can notice it, you can see it. People are spending AEW fans spend a lot of time demeaning WWE
Absolutely.
just to elevate AEW. And that's probably where my frustration comes
And you
because it's just
shouldn't
like,
have to do that, bro. You should
yeah,
not have, you should be able to speak about your product, the shit you're watching, and not have to downgrade anybody. Yo, and I see that actually, this is a very common phenomenon. I see this happening often where motherfuckers don't really have confidence in the shit that they like. And somewhere deep inside them, they know the shit they like is a polished turd. And they know it. They know it. You got weird taste, bro. Lean into your truth.
right.
But then they get mad because the population, the pop culture, doesn't see that shit the way they see that shit. So instead of them bigging up the virtues of that polished turd that they into, they start running down the stuff that everybody else is into. And it's like when you look at the WWE presentation, this, and by the way, this didn't start this year. This didn't start last year. This didn't start 4 years ago. Look at the WWE presentation for years. It's been top-notch Hollywood shit, right? Some of these smaller leagues will come along and basically all they have to offer is two things. In-ring fighting, which is basically choreographed, super choreographed, non-selling, whatever. They doing flips and this, that, and the third. And the second thing they have to offer is this rebellious vibe.
Mm.
And that's what AEW fans are, in my estimation, really clued into. We're not the WWE, the sellout WWE, that's the super commercial WWE. We not that. We are this, bro. That's a vibe. But this is what I will tell you about commercial shit. You cannot place all commercial shit under the same category. Cause some commercial shit is good as a motherfucker. This shit is just good. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
I mean, my issue really is not that I don't like AEW and don't like independent wrestling. My issue is that like independent wrestling fans believe that there's something inherently wrong with
Yep.
the WWE
Yep.
and its
Yep.
product. And it's like, no, regular people from kids to 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds
Right.
watch the WWE and
Sure
they
do.
like the product. No one thinks it's trash but them. And
That's
then
it.
when I go to watch their indie promo or their, whatever they're trying to call it,
Mhm.
the only thing that they can offer in most cases, they don't offer well at all. Like the idea of, okay, we're not the WWE, but we're always going to have better matches. No, that's
No.
not what I see.
True.
You can tell me all day long, this is the best match I've ever seen. No, it's not the best match I've ever seen.
Right. I've seen a lot
I've
of
seen a
great,
lot of
great
great
matches.
from house shows, dark matches
Facts.
to indie. Bro, I watch so much independent wrestling,
Facts.
bro. I watch Booker T's promotion. I watch Al Snow's promotion. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot
Yeah.
of dudes in there. I watch these like in empty church hall
Mhm.
matches where it's got 7 people and
Yeah.
intergender matches, like all kind of stuff. I love pro wrestling, but I'm not a quote unquote smart mark. I use that term derisively because the smart mark is going to tell you what you like. I'm not going to tell you what you like. I'm just going to ask, hey, what type of pro wrestling do you like? I can tell you I just like good presentation and good in-ring technical ability. And the ability to meld to merge those with a good story, that's all I'm there for. I don't need to hear you demean the company that you think you're in competition with for 7 straight weeks because they're not responding to you, And
So
that's the part where I get frustrated with the AEW smart marks. I don't have no problem with their product if they don't make me have a problem with their product. But when they want me to scrutinize in a way that it's like, you want to scrutinize the WWE product? Okay, let's scrutinize yours.
Look, bro, you got to look at it from this perspective too. The average person, period, is not theatrical, is not super dramatic. They regular weed. This is why they look up to the people with the talent, because they have a drama to them. theatrical. They see them as larger than life. It's why for as long as there's been people, they've put people up on pedestals. Why they do that with musicians and shit like that, right? You and I have been musicians for quite a long time.
Mhm.
Quite a long time. Presentation matters in music videos, when you get up on stage, even when you're putting together your project, right? Knowing which songs should sound good after or before this song, or trying to affect the emotional tension of the album by placing a certain segment of the songs with this certain type of energy right here. I'm gonna have them come in hot, and then I'm gonna get down right here and get in their feelings. And then I'm gonna come out with like all of that takes a theatrical mind to do.
Agreed.
Most people are not. So I started to realize because I've been to indie shows live, right? And great in-ring stuff is great, but the overall storytelling and the presentation does not hit the same most of the time. It doesn't hit the same. Now, some of that has to do with resources. Pure and simple. Uh, the people that do the WWE's video presentations, top notch. The people that do their music shit, top notch. Right? They can afford to do that.
What's that
But
dude's name? The guy who makes all their
I think
music?
it is
Something Johnston or something like that?
something like that.
Man,
He's really
we
good,
should
bro.
know his name. Why
We
don't we
should
know
know
his
his name,
name?
bro. We
Yeah.
should. Yo, when you go into when you look at in some of the older Attitude Era programming, and sometimes they would go out in the parking lot and you would see the video truck out there, the van out
Mhm.
there. Yo, the type of production and stuff that they doing was just on a higher level. And a lot of that does have to do with resources. But the thing people need to understand is how did they get those resources? They got those resources tapping in to the pulse of not just wrestling fans, but casual fans. People who may not even be that interested in it, to the point where their wrestlers get asked to go on late night shows, popular late night shows.
Yeah.
Oh, you the world champ now? Yeah, we need to bring him over here. Notice they're not recognizing none of them other small indie. His presentation got a lot to do with it, bro. And I've seen him live. I've seen him on TV. I've seen him wherever. And I'm telling you, in comparison to the WWE marketing, branding, presentation, that shit is leagues behind what WWE is doing. Leagues.
Yeah. It's crazy too because like one thing I feel about presentation overall is it doesn't
Mhm.
really matter what medium it is.
Mhm.
If you do it well, you can cover up for a lot
You can
of
cover up for a lot of that's a fact.
sloppiness, you know, if there are things that aren't up to, you know, the same level of quality of the presentation.
That's a
A
fact.
presentation can really cover for a
That's a
lot of
fact, bro.
deficiencies that may exist.
That's what happened in the
Eh,
Attitude Era too.
yes.
With a lot of the programs they ran there, they wasn't good. We remember the great ones
The
and throughout
presentation.
the pre yeah. But even with the ones that if you go back and watch the chain of events and sequences that happened in that feud,
Mhm.
I mean, every match, every backstage interaction, every whatever, you go, this wasn't as good as I remembered. And then you watch them put the beef together with the music and with the clips
Oh, the
and
package.
the
No
package,
Diddy. Yeah,
bro.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like,
The
jeez.
the package. So yeah, there's the way that the WWE puts together these packages where they will show you previously on WWE, and it's like
Yes.
the last 6 months of these people, whoever it is, just beating the absolute shit out of each other and
Right.
talking shit to each other's fucking parents. And to be fair to your point, we did remember it better than what it was. But if it wasn't
Yeah.
for those packages, we would not remember it that way because the packages made it so epic. I remember the one where it was like when Austin lost the title,
Mhm.
and it was I think it was Backlash that when he had the triple threat versus uh Undertaker and Kane. Remember? And they
Mhm,
were working
mhm,
together.
mhm.
They both pinned him at the same time, and they came back on the Raw the next day, and they showed this package of like Austin's face when he realized he had lost. Because remember, Austin had
Yeah,
been champion for like 2 years straight, or whatever it was, or like a year straight for a kid. That's a long ass time.
that
So
is a long time.
it's like the way that they were able to produce this, you know, whether it's the cut scenes from the program itself, the
Mhm.
music that they had with it, the commentary that they use, you
Yes.
know, the promo cuts that they
Oh
use. It's
my
like, bro,
goodness.
you put together a package like that and you're killing it. And so, yeah, if the matches weren't that great, that's okay. The packages made me think that I remember
Hey,
that the
It's
matches were that
awesome.
great.
It's awesome, bro. Like it's awesome. You
So,
know, so that's and a lot of these smaller companies they can't do that, and um, at least not with the same. It doesn't have the same shine or polish on it, and it does make your stuff look to be of a lower quality. It, at least that's the perception, especially to a casual. I remember I used to date this girl.
mhm.
Um, she's an attorney now, but I used to date this girl, and all she would watch is WWF. That's it. And I remember uh I was into both. I was into everything because I'm one of them type fans, right?
Right.
So I'm watching everything. And I remember being over at her crib and I turned it on to a WCW stuff. And
Mhm.
I remember her going, "What's this?" And I was like, it's WCW. What you talking about? It's WCW, right?
If she broke up with you for watching WCW, bro.
Nah, not that. That would have been
Ah,
crazy though. That would have been crazy.
can you
But
imagine the chick just being like, "I can't mess
yo,
with you no more."
you
Why?
watch W-
Yo, you watch WCW. I'm only WWF. Like,
yo, she was
what?
only that. And
That's how
then
tribal it was. Go ahead.
it was very tribal. And then uh I remember a little while after that, I went and bought one of the VHSs of talking about the Undertaker, and it covered the entire feud of him and Kane and all this other stuff. And they had the 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 fire match with the fire around the ring match, right? And I
Oh,
remember
yeah, yeah,
us
Inferno.
the Inferno match. I remember us sitting there watching it, and I remember her distinctly saying, "Look at this! Like, why? I don't understand why you watch anything else. Look at this." She's basically a casual B, but they see this and they go,
Wow.
"This is spectacular," and the
Yeah.
other stuff look low lighting. The mat look a little different.
Oh no, that ring looked cheap as hell. I'm
But
sorry.
even so,
Like,
like the
look,
camera
I watched
angles
a
was
lot of WCW, and you know what's crazy is like I would be considered somewhat of a wrestling partisan because I
mhm,
am sort of team WWE.
mhm,
But
mhm.
you've watched a lot of shit. You've watched
Yeah, bro.
NWA, you've watched
Mhm,
WCW, you watched
mhm.
Mid South, like
AWA,
AWA,
world
bro.
class wrestling over there in Texas.
Bro, you done
It's
watched a
gonna tell me
lot of
nothing,
fucking
yo.
pro wrestling. So
Right.
they may think that I'm a mark for WWE. That's fair. But like you've watched a lot of different shit. You have a
A
right to
lot,
speak on
yo.
that.
A lot. And that's the other thing about that too. I remember certain eras, transitional periods where the product of WWF wasn't for me. Like I could tell. There was a time where damn near every goddamn character over there had a mascot animal. Like this shit was so kiddie. I couldn't that shit wasn't for me, right? And that's what drew me more. I still watched the product, but it drew me more over to the other stuff because they were doing a semblance of what I wanted, right? And
Right.
I remember when WWE started getting better. It started getting better, doing better and better. I've been through a whole bunch of their stages and shit. Bro, I remember watching, I was so obsessed with wrestling, watching old shit with Larry Sabisco. I was literally fascinated by them that continue to talk about that cage match with Larry Sabisco and Bruno Sammartino, but I had never saw because it was slightly before my watching of the shit. I hunted that match down, bro. Now this
Mm,
is before the internet, so I invite you, right, to
right.
contemplate how difficult that was, right? This is before the
Crazy.
internet. Because I had to see the match that everybody was referencing. I had to see it. Oh yeah, when Bruno fought Larry Sabisco, and then I would see Larry Sabisco as a commentator on wrestling. He would talk. They would talk about him like he's the living legend, and I had to see the match, right? Like, so this is not one of these things where I haven't recognized when WWF product wasn't quite what I wanted. No, I'm telling you now, I've seen all this other stuff. Right now, they can't talk to WWE, yo. They can't, not about that. It's good
So
shit.
So to that point, I do want to kind of project out a little bit because I know this is somewhat of a wrestling specific pod.
Right.
WrestleMania 41. I think we are going to get Rock versus Roman, and I think it'll be Rock's final match. And I think it Roman's going to be the babyface in this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we have a bloodline civil war, which if we just did Avengers Endgame, you know, I'm pretty sure they can do any other of the Marvel sort of storylines and just kill it.
Oh,
so Roman and Rock have shown to be a force to be reckoned with when they are united.
Absolutely.
But what does a war between the two look like? And you have the entire, I think, the family, tribe, Anoa'i tribe, or you know, whatever you call them. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's like
and
that whole, that whole family gets involved in that particular war. God. It would be just as good as and this would also show that Cody's story was just a part of the bloodline story. Don't get me wrong. Cody's story is interesting. But without the bloodline, without Roman, without The Rock, to me, it doesn't hit as hard.
No, because again, you have to have solid villains. The antagonist has to be top of the line, because we've mentioned this on this show many a times. Without the antagonist, the hero sits on the porch, reads bedtime stories to his kid. He doesn't do shit. All right. It's the antagonist that motivates the hero to go out there and do amazing things. And also, one good storyline, if done properly, lifts all boats. And it was the bloodline storyline that lifted Cody's story, because now you get the entire context of the family, both families, even though clearly the Samoan Empire is far more extensive than the Rhodes Empire as far as in-ring stuff. Far more, right? But because Dusty was such a larger-than-life outsized figure, you can adequately take Cody's experience, connected to his dad's legacy, and then have something there of a Luke Skywalker. He's a Luke Skywalker, right?
Okay.
And but at the end of the day, it was the bloodline. Now, what a infighting between the bloodline looks like to me, just my humble opinion, I could be completely wrong about this next year, and I'll own up to it, right? So all this bullshit that's going on with Solo right now, this is not all Solo's machinations. This is the final boss.
This is the final boss.
This is the final boss doing this shit, right?
Because he said Paul Heyman also said losing has consequences.
Yes.
Even though Solo's been losing his ass off over the last couple of months. But like the idea of Rock not tolerating that Roman lost.
Yeah.
You know, because Rock pinned Cody on night
and he
one.
made it a point to tell Cody that shit.
Yeah. So there's something interesting about that. So then the question is, obviously, The Rock is the side of the bloodline he's going to be on is the same side as Solo. And what's the other kid that they just brought on?
Tonga.
Yeah. Him, and I think they're going to probably bring in, there's another Fatu kid who they're bringing in. So the bloodline is going to be pretty deep. You know how I feel, bro. I feel like they should bring Naomi over to the bloodline.
Absolutely.
I feel like they should bring Nia Jax over to the bloodline. They should hold the women's tag titles, and there should just literally be there's gonna be the Usos on the other side, Roman, the original bloodline on the other side. Sami Zayn, I think, is gonna get involved in that.
Probably.
Yeah, the original bloodline with Sami Zayn versus The Rock's bloodline.
And depending on how many people are going to be over there, as far as the New York version of the bloodline, depending on how many people that is, I can literally just imagine this. So Dusty Rhodes was the American dream. Right? He's the American dream. Nikita Koloff was the Russian nightmare. They were on complete opposite sides of the face-heel dynamic. I mean, both. And when Magnum got hurt and could not wrestle ever again, Nikita, who just came off of a best of 7 United States title competition with Magnum, right? Just beat him up in front of his mama and all that other shit. All that other shit that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Dusty and Nikita came down the ring for the Crockett Memorial Cup tag team shit, the crowd went nuts. 100% nuts. Now imagine this in modern times.
Okay.
The threat of the bloodline is so severe. It encompasses everywhere in the WWE.
Agreed. Nowhere is safe, because that's the thing I love about the Civil War is that nowhere is going to be safe. It's going to spill over onto NXT.
Yep.
Like it should be in what Invasion should have been.
What Invasion should have been. That's
right.
And it's worse. It's worse in the sense that because Solo he's a brutal boy. He's a brutal boy. So he's a savage. So the type of stuff they're going to be doing is going to be way worse than what Roman and them was doing from a physicality situation and not giving a fuck situation, right?
Agreed.
So now Cody is in danger, right?
Oh, they're coming after Cody
everybody's
too.
in danger, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Because Cody started this.
Yes.
Cody started all of this. And so if you don't think that Solo is coming for Cody too, he's coming for Cody too. And you may get sooner than we probably should get a Cody versus Solo title match. Now, obviously, Cody's going over. There's no way they're putting the belt on Solo over Cody. But that's going to be a crazy match.
Oh, it's going to get even crazier. Because now imagine, remember the parallel I just gave you about Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, and Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare. Imagine the situation where Cody and Roman have to team up to fight the New Blood. Yo, the crowd is going to lose its mind.
Listen, the baby face that Roman is going to be when he comes back to face the bloodline, the pop he's going to get because he was the villain it's almost like he'll be almost like Loki almost, where he is a villain that's going to turn face that everyone's going to root for because he's so damn cool.
Yeah. And this is what I somebody said to me the other day, and I couldn't disagree more. They said we don't want him to come back like he was as far as the face he was. I said, what makes you think that's going to happen? Like, first of all, this man now has all this experience, all these skills he has acquired doing this run of how to throw a promo, how to deliver shit, all of that.
True.
When he comes back as a face, he's going to have the edge of the tribal chief and all of the skills that come with that. But this time, it's pointed towards the group that everybody hates.
Yeah.
They're going to lose their mind.
Listen, when he was a heel, when he was the top heel, when he was possibly the greatest heel of all time.
Facts. They cheered him,
You could argue he is one of the great heels of all time. When he said acknowledge me, more than half of the people in the audience put up the one.
Yes.
When he gets back on babyface Mount Rushmore, he is going to say, acknowledge me, and there won't be a finger down. There will be every single finger going up to acknowledge
this is
Roman
all
Reigns when
facts.
he comes back. And
This
it's
is
going
all
to be
facts.
like the yes that they did for Daniel
Yes.
Bryan. It's going to be the ones in the air when Roman says, acknowledge me. We're not going to see a greater pop than that.
Yeah, you're not, bro. You're not. And it's going to be more than just the people that's in that immediate audience. It's going to be people at home with their fingers up. Listen, I'm telling you.
I did it at the gym. One time I was watching Raw at the gym and I'm on the bike and and he's like, acknowledge me. And I literally put the one up in the gym. Gym full of people. I don't give a fuck. I put the one up, dog. I acknowledge our tribal chief.
That is hilarious.
Hey, I don't care, man. He is the tribal chief. I think I'm so glad he was finally able to find his spot because we talked about this in our original reaction to WrestleMania. But talk about a guy who figured it out in Roman Reigns.
Yeah, bro. This is the thing about that, right? There are moments when a performer first enters there, they're green. They really don't know which way to go. They don't have the pacing. And usually they'll have some of the elements that they need, but not the others. And some of those others are crucial elements. They'll have the physical attributes, right? Nice, big, buff, good cardio so they can go for a long time and stuff. Maybe a little bit of their in-ring is slightly off, pacing slightly off, but they'll be missing the most important thing, knowing who they are and how to project that to an audience. This is the entire point of all of the guys that we've loved over the years. When you go back and
I don't mean to interrupt you,
but
you're describing Shield Roman Reigns right now.
Yes. He had the look, he had all of that stuff, except for he didn't know who he was, bro. And if you go back and you look at any old videos of any of the wrestlers that wound up becoming legends in everybody's mind, you can tell that this was the era they were in where they didn't know who they were, or at the very least, how to project who they were to an audience. And it is not easy. Listen, a lot of people take for granted the podcast era that we're in. Do you know how many podcasts there are? A shit ton.
Oh, man.
Do you know how many of them are successful? Very few.
Very few.
Because it does take a certain level of knowing how to express yourself to an audience where you connect with what you're saying, what you're talking about, the content in general, and an audience willing to listen. And that is not easy. And mind you, these motherfuckers are all doing this from behind the screen, or not even being shown in most of the time, and they still having a hard time doing it. Now imagine trying to do that shit in front of 30,000 people night after night. It's not easy, bro. And when Roman figured it out, was, according to what he even said himself, is when he was home. He wasn't on the show. He was injured. That's when he figured it out, bro. He looked at it. He had the past experience of what he was doing that didn't work. And he looked at what the product was and what was brilliant about it. By the way, everybody's doing this now because of Roman. Everybody in WWE is doing this now because of Roman. So when he came back, he said one thing he noticed. Yo, there's nothing but monitors out there. There are no people out there. And all of these guys are still trying to do their shtick the way they would have done it to a live audience. No, but this is, y'all seeing it as a bad side. There is a dope side to this. We can get more intimate with these stories. We don't need to yell. We don't need to do all this other shit. We don't got to do none of that. We can go in there and get intimate with these stories. And when he came back there, that's what he did. And now you see everybody doing it. Everybody over on the roster is doing that sort of thing, right?
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, I think about what can be done with the character now of the tribal chief, and this is why I guess I'm anticipating they have to do something with The Rock, because he's not the champion right now, or maybe he'll never be again. I think that's probably why he did react the way that he did, because I think he knew he wasn't going to get another shot. Right now it's Cody's time, and for them to put the belt back on Roman for any reason would be going backwards. And I
It
think
would
he
be.
knew that. I think everyone knew that. Roman
Mhm.
had it for 4 years straight.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
There's no reason to like go back and forth and do that whole thing. Because, you know, people don't like it when the belt changes hands, especially a world title belt. And like, I agree with that. Unless it's a shock swerve,
Right.
you know, shout out to Swerve Strickland, who's a world champion now. But unless this is like a shock swerve for the audience, there's no reason to go back like that, right?
No, and that used to happen back in the day a lot more than it's happened now. You would see that happen during the Attitude Era. The world belt would change hands not super frequently, but way more frequently than we've seen in this day and time, because they build their entire marketing around the who's the champion. And this is one of the reasons why they do have to be sure who they put the belt on, because this person carries the company. This person isn't just coming to the ring every show with the belt. No, this person is going in other forms of media,
True.
being a representation of the WWE. So you can't just have some piece of shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. But here's the thing about that. Roman was really good at that.
He was really good at that.
Roman was really good at that. I would argue Roman and Cody are about equal when it comes to talking to the media, presenting themselves as company guys, you know, out there promoting the brand and stuff. Like, to me, Roman is excellent at that.
Yeah, he is, bro. I've seen him on several late night talk show interviews and other places where they're interviewing him. He's very articulate, but that's something we've already seen. But here's the thing: what people don't realize about that, though, like there was an era in time where you didn't have that.
Right.
Like they weren't as polished, as calm, as demure. Even during the Hulk Hogan run, Hogan was a larger than life figure that would get on a lot of these interviews and be in full, you know, that's what, like
he'd be in full gimmick mode,
he'd be in full gimmick mode, bro. And it's like with Roman, his gimmick is to be this cool, calculating mob boss of a character. He can get on these on any platform, hold that title, and hold his own in a discussion, bro. Like he can do that, and Cody can too.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's why, like I said, Cody reminds me so much of the Luke Skywalker archetype, yo. Like he's got the blonde hair, like Luke had.
Well,
he's small. Like
it's interesting because Cody is literally the son of a myth.
He's the son of a myth. Yep.
Right.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy because his father was son of a plumber, and he's the son of a myth.
Yeah, like Dusty Rhodes is like mythical. In wrestling, he's like a Paul Bunyan. Like you hear stories about Dusty Rhodes, and you're like, I can believe it. And it's like some shit like he jumped from the moon to Mars, and you're like, yeah, I believe it. He probably did.
Listen, that's a fact.
It's crazy. And to be fair to Cody, I'm glad he is doing his own thing, having his own legacy that is completely, for the most part, separate from Dusty's legacy, because the problem with Dustin was that he was so expected to be not Dusty that he went so far in the other direction. And I love the Goldust character. The Goldust character is an all-time character. But it's one of those things where it's just like how Cody had to live in the shadow of the giant myth that is his father.
Yeah.
Whereas in Dustin had already become somewhat of a Hall of Famer. I mean, physically in the ring, Goldust is one of the best.
One of the best, bro. His move set, the way he can tell a story with his in-ring, it was really good. It was like, bro, like and something you just said earlier about like as far as the connection between Dusty's legacy and Cody's. So I think with the reason why Cody's works so well is because he has enough of himself in his presentation, who he is, that when he sprinkles a bit of his dad's legacy on it, he gets the benefit of it. Some people try to drape themselves into their legacy and it don't work. It don't come off. You just look like somebody who's just trying to be somebody else. Cody has just enough of his dad's legacy sprinkled on him where he can be himself. And your point about Dustin, I remember Dustin before he came to WWE when he was fighting alongside his dad in WCW, where he would tag team periodically with Barry Windham and a few of the other young bulls over there. Dustin was dope over there. In the ring, physically, yeah, he just didn't have all those other elements. That's why when he left and went to WWF, we saw a side we never saw him. I didn't think he was capable of being anything other than, oh, that's Dusty's son. That's Dusty's kid.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he was capable of that, right? But he obviously, when he went to WWE, he didn't utilize much of his dad's legacy.
Right.
It was all Dustin with the gold dust thing, all of that. Cody, on the other hand, successfully was able to sprinkle some. He calls himself the American Nightmare, American Dream.
Well, but before that, I'm going to go on record and say I was one of the few people who liked the fucking Stardust character. I thought the Stardust
you not the only
bro. I am not no
One,
revisionist. If I wasn't a revisionist in this, I would say it. I actually thought now I'm glad we have
Stardust,
Cody Rhodes now, but Stardust was a dope character.
You know why I like Stardust? And this is my comic book roots. He was a comic book villain.
He was.
And this was during the time they was having some of those tropes in WWE, and he was a villain. That's why they had the dude that played Arrow on the CW do a whole program. It was based around the superhero thing.
Steve Arnell.
Yeah, bro, he was in the audience. Stardust went over there and smacked him. Then he leaps over the barricade, leaps over the top rope. Because the dude is super athletic. He did most of his own stunts in the show. He jumps over the barricade. Yeah, he did most of his own stunts.
Oh wow.
Yeah, bro. He's an athletic dude. He leaps over the ropes, tackles Stardust, and starts giving him the beats. And I was like, get him, Earl! Get him, Oliver! Get him! Right? So then when they ran that whole program where they was backstage, Triple H was like, man, this isn't Hollywood. You don't jump your ass in that ring. You're going to get yourself hurt, blah, blah, blah. And Steve was like, man, I don't want to hear that. How about this? Me and I forget the little bald dude, little bald muscle-bound dude that did a lot of the fancy moves. I forget his name, but this is who Stephen Amell teamed up with.
Steve Arnell gets a match at SummerSlam.
Bro,
what?
Bro.
I don't remember this at all.
Bro. And he didn't do bad, bro. He took bumps. He ain't do bad, bro.
I gotta watch this.
You got to. You have
Steve
to,
Arnell and Neville team up to battle
Neville.
Stardust and who is this? Wow. So Steve Arnell, King Barrett. Oh, okay. So basically, Steve Arnell had a match with Cody Rhodes. We didn't know he was going to be Cody Rhodes, but he was.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And he did really good in that match, bro.
I am going to watch that.
You have to, man.
I'm going to watch that.
Yo,
anytime we do any of these wrestling pods, I always feel like I learned something from you that I now have to go back and watch. So that's wild.
Bro. It is wild.
So out of all the celebrity wrestlers, I guess we can kind of end it on this.
Okay.
Out of all the celebrity wrestlers, and there's been a few, the one that I'm most familiar with is David Arquette, who was, quote unquote WCW champion. And I have to say, it's interesting in a gimmick sort of sport. I have to put quotes around the gimmick.
I know, right?
Who wasn't in it was so weird. But he was in a movie called Ready to Rumble. It's one of my favorite movies as a kid. It's a terrible movie, but it's still enjoyable, right?
Right.
Jimmy the King was the wrestler. It was like a cross between like Jerry the King and like another guy or whatever, like Ric Flair. And like he was wrestling in that movie, but he wasn't a wrestler. He was just an actor. Right. Well, apparently that movie kicked off his love for professional wrestling, and that dude went on to be like an actual indie wrestler.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a couple like death matches and shit like that where he, did some super hardcore shit. He was wrestling the indie circuit and stuff, and not on some I'm David Arquette, the actor, just a dude who loved pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Because he was in that movie. And so it's like, you look at his co-star in that movie, I think it was like I don't remember what that kid's name is. He went on to be like in the Hawaiian 5-0 show and stuff like that. He went on to just stay in Hollywood. David Arquette went to get his ass whooped with chairs and tables and shit for the next 10 years because of Ready to Rumble. So shout out to Ready to Rumble, the
Shout out to
movie, for
Ready to
getting him
Rumble,
into
for
that.
real.
He was a good celebrity wrestler.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch this Steven Arnell
Let's go check him
wrestler.
out, bro. Check him out.
Do you know who else is good too? Shaq.
Yo, you took it. I was gonna mention Shaq right after that. I just recently watched Shaq in a match against Cody.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, bro. I just watched that match, yo. He took the bumps, all of that.
Dog, one of the craziest things I remember seeing was when Shaq stood next to the Big Show.
No.
And the Big Show was smaller.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
Think about this when one of these young kids say that Shaq couldn't have played in today's NBA. I just want to preface this.
They're bugging.
Shaquille O'Neal was bigger than the Big Show.
Yeah.
And moved like Keith Lee.
Yeah, bro. Let me tell you something, bro. Anybody who says that he couldn't play in today's league, they bugging. The thing about Shaq,
they don't
Shaq
remember.
He was a wall. He was a wall. Like how you gonna score on him? You better score from outside. Don't even try to come in. Nah, bro.
Well, not only that though, but his offense was literally unstoppable. If he just got near the rim, he was dunking on anybody down there.
And he was
so fast, no one could stop him from getting there. There's still no people in the NBA today who could physically stop Shaquille O'Neal. Now, he might not have the shooting touch of the modern big man of today, but make no mistake about it. It's the same argument. Andre the Giant couldn't have been able to wrestle in this era. Bullshit. Especially
when he was younger. Bullshit.
Look at some of those classic sort of wrestlers. If you give them the same conditioning and access to the 100%. Science of today, bro, 100%. I feel like he could have done anything the Big Show did, anything Omos could do.
Yep.
Like any of these big men of today, Andre could have done any of that shit.
Walking on Andre the road, would have had that surgery. He was scared to have it. It was still kind of new. If he'd have had that surgery to fix his pituitary gland thing like the Big Show had, we'd have had him a lot longer. And he'd have been a lot healthier. Yeah. He was supposed his people told him, go get but it was still new. It was still new, and he didn't want to take the chance on it, which I don't blame him. I mean, it's the unknown. They're putting you to sleep. You don't know if you're gonna get the fuck back up.
First generation iPhone syndrome, dog.
Facts. So he never
the first gen.
Him and Big Show had the exact same affliction. The exact same. The Big Show went and had the surgery though. And I remember Big Show at one time he said he felt like before the surgery, he felt like his strength was unlimited. Like there was nothing he couldn't lift, move, push, whatever. After the surgery, he started to feel his limits because that pituitary gland is constantly pumping that hormone, that growth hormone in your ass. Like they're big. Yo, trust me, Andre the Giant could have did the exact same shit he did back then. Now, right now,
anything that Undertaker, Kane, or Big Show could have done, I think Andre could have done.
Yeah, he could. Come on, bro. Yes, he 100% could have, yo.
So
yeah. Damn. Well, so let's for the record, Stephen Arquette, Shaq. Once you watch Stephen the Mill, come and hit me back. Let me know what you think about that. I would also add honorary mention, Mr. T.
Mr. T. Okay. I'll check him out. Steve Arnell, Mr. T. I know the Shaq. There was a couple of Shaq moments. I know Shaq had I don't know if it was WrestleMania. Maybe it was SummerSlam. But it was something that took place in LA, and I remember Shaq was out there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely go check those out. What do you got planned for the rest of the day?
Well, I got stuff, and today's my wife's day off. So yeah.
All right. Well, tell the queen I said hello. Hope she's well.
Absolutely, bro.
And I'll talk to you later, brother.
Yep. Peace.
Peace.